So for today, we're back. Happy New Year's. Happy New Year to everyone. And we're going to kick it off with some chaos. Some recent inspiration facing up against the top 4 Chinese players, or among the top 4 from the top of the Chinese players. Along with chaos, we're also going to be playing. What am I playing? Bretonnia, just to get some practice in with them. I want to get good with my cavalry micro, which I definitely want to work on. So it's an important skill for Warhammer. But for this game, we've opted for a pretty normal build, I'd say. We have a lot of Marauder Horsemen, which is safe. And against Empire, we have Forsaken, which should be able to grind down the troops pretty quickly. We have a Chariot, too, which will be able to deal with the infantry. An Archaon with some abilities to deal with archers. In the forest are some Demogryph Knights who are moving towards my horsemen now. A little bit threatening, but we do move faster than them. And Boris seems to be overextending a tiny bit, which means that we've actually been able to get quite a bit of damage on him. Oh, looks like the Demogryph Knights have decided to turn, moving in towards my horsemen, but we pull it away just in time to make sure we don't take too much damage. So all in all, I think the skirmishing phase is going very well for us. We could throw down a Burning Head, but there's not much going on, so my opponent would probably be able to dodge it. But the Luminarch shot does go in. It hits Archaon twice for a lot of damage. And we're going to have to worry about that a little bit. In fact, Archaon probably just wants to dive in at this point. Try to take that bad boy out. Otherwise, probably do a lot of damage. We're just going to charge in face first. In the midst of all this, then throw down a Flame Storm. And that should be able to deal with all that cavalry. Archaon was going to get sniped out by the Luminarch anyway, so we're sort of okay with him taking these effective trades here. And he's actually doing pretty well for himself. He took one hit from Boris, and that's about it. Which is, I would have thought that he'd take more damage, but he's actually doing pretty great. Marauder Horsemen are supporting too. And just getting in a ton of shots on Boris. In fact, I think Archaon can disengage now while we shut down the Luminarch to make sure that we don't get punished there. And then our Marauder Horsemen will just continue to poke away at Boris. He does actually move in again towards Archaon, but he's in a rough spot. I don't expect him to hold out too well here. In fact, I think the only thing that's really going badly for us is our Chariot micro, which has been a little bit idle for most of this game. But other than that, it looks like we've routed off Boris. We have horsemen at the ready to chase him off, but Manticore does come in on Archaon and it will likely take him out. Chariots are finally in the fight and they're doing okay. Surprisingly enough, Archaon manages to keep it together too. And Boris is shattered, which is amazing because it means that his healing won't be triggering. And let's see if we can keep Archaon in the fight by using some magic. I think it does actually buff your leadership. And in doing so, we actually manage to keep them together at 400 HP. Which means that we don't even have to worry about a mass rout from our troops. So there we go. Just about everything is gone for the Empire. And I'd say that is about GG. But no need to call it early. Let's keep pushing on. And there we go. Sick. Sick. Yeah. Lots of horsemen. We skirmished them up. And did pretty well. Now, one shot from the Luminarch actually got 1,200 gold value. But sadly, that wasn't enough. And I don't think anything else really paid for itself here. Our Archaon actually got 2,000 gold value off that fight on the right flank. And the Flamestorm, I think, actually did really well against the cavalry. Just casting it on top of yourself is pretty fun. So our next game is up against High Elves, and we've brought a pretty standard Bretonnia build with a bunch of elite knights, archers with pox arrows mixed in, and a peasant front line. So the thing about Bretonnia is that the peasant mobs are so cheap that but hard enough to push through that your front line can only cost 500 gold, and you can put your money into everything else, which leaves it means that you're very powerful on other fronts. But in a straight up infantry fight, things can get a little bit dicey. So to actually make sure that you don't get run over by infantry, you have to be very on point in using your knights to cycle charge infantry and to keep them back. In terms of flanks, you're not especially worried about that since you have a pretty heavy mobility advantage. So I think, yeah, that's basically it. That's the gist of this build. It works versus many factions. Feel free to use it. For our opponent, taken a pretty small army, and immediately we're seeing box formation of Spearmen, Silverin, and some Sisters of Averlorn. Okay. Some very expensive archers there. But the thing about the High Elves here is that they don't have many tools to deal with the trebuchets. So, of course they do have bolt throwers, but they are very short range. And if they do decide to creep up on our position, we have archers that can just move up and shoot them down. So, yeah, let's just get our trebuchets to begin shooting at those archers. And we can bring our knights over here to deal with the Fireborn. Of course, we're going to check behind to make sure that there's nothing vanguarded. Then I think we're good. See here, there's a Sun Dragon too that we'll have to worry about, but our Paladins are here to support. Thankfully, we've also taken them on horses, which is the meta, because Alarielle tends to have Tempest, which can do a lot of damage to these guys. But in this case, she doesn't. So my opponent winning out on that front build-wise. And it looks like the Silverin are beginning to move in. So we can collapse onto the right flank. To begin, I'm going to pull back the Fey Enchantress so that she doesn't get super murdered. And then I think our knights are just going to collapse in on these archers. We can send one peasant mob in to just delay the front line. And let's see, a unit of questing knights against Fireborn. I guess we'll see if we can countercharge and use our pox arrows to shut those guys down. Our knights are now flanking too, and we're going to pull them in directions that cause these archers to turn. Well, by doing that, also Fey Enchantress should be in infantry, but yeah, by having them turn to shoot, it means that they're actually not in combat for very long, or they're not firing for very long, and our knights will be able to continue disrupting them that way. As for this infantry that's pushing through, if they become too much of a problem, we can always bring our knights back to defend against them, and we'll also want to kite away with our archers on this left flank. We've pushed back the Fireborn with our cavalry. Oh, looks like these guys need healing, and they're a bit too far away. But yeah, we've pushed back the Fireborn with our cavalry and our paladins, which has enough power to keep them away, and our archers can be kept safe by the cavalry that's returning from the High Elf backline. And there we go, a little bit of an early lead from my opponent, but we had just decimated their backline, and they didn't have much cavalry left with their spears about to get run over. Even though that did go pretty well, I still think we played it a bit sloppily. But sacrificing a unit of bowmen to get a strong countercharge on these Fireprint Dragonborn, I think that was a pretty nice play. I enjoyed that. As for everything else, I'm not entirely sure. Probably could have done, well, for sure could have done better in some parts. But anyways, quick game. This next game is up against the Dowie, playing Chaos, as you can see. And our opponent is Master Corner Camper. So we do expect him to throw a little bit of cheese our way. Minimum. But we've expected it, and we're going to see if we can shut that down. We have Sartorial, 2 Manticores, an Exalted Hero, and a lot of Skirmish Cavalry. Taking these guys specifically so that we can catch his cannons as they retreat to the back. And yeah, these guys should be able to do pretty good. They'll buy time for the rest of the army to catch up, and I think that will get us a solid win. But we'll have to see. The guy corner camps and he plays artillery, so it's not surprising that people lose to him. Not everyone is ready for this type of playstyle. As you can see, ooh, nice. He's already turned his artillery to face away from him. Probably, he might have assumed that we would vanguard over here. But that may be the mistake of his life, as it means that he can't fire at my horsemen as we advance here. And we might even be able to shut down this artillery. Slayers are moving into position though. And he's actually taken a surprisingly small amount of artillery, considering his namesake. And here we go. Yeah, we can get our cavalry in and start causing some havoc. Just a dwarf lord here, not too scary. And some quarrelers, so actually a pretty heavy melee army. Pretty interesting. And yeah, we're just gonna be bogging down these cannons, slowing them down using our range units. Fire away here, staying away from the Norgrimlings. They're very scary. And I guess we may have to sacrifice some artillery here. Sartorial is coming in hot though. And I think we'll be able to get a final transmutation in just a second, which should be absolutely devastating against his army. So there we go, overcast. And without a lot of support, I'm not sure if he can really do much to negate the effects of this final transmutation. His 2 cannon crews have also routed off the map, which means we've actually bought ourselves quite a bit of time, because it means he doesn't have a whole lot left in the form of ranged units, really. And our horsemen can simply tear these guys apart. Sartorial 2 can act as a scary chariot unit. And I'd say things are going pretty bad for old Master Corner Camper here. We have sacrificed 2 horsemen, however, to get into this position. And our Manticore will still have to be careful. He's getting surrounded by Slayers, but we can still run away with him, no problem. And I expect him to take off, and he does. The nice Quarrelers are firing in on Sartorial now, though. But there is a gap in the lines, and it means that we can shut down those Quarrelers. We've also been blessed by the fact that the Manticore has routed off in this direction, which means that it will come back, and we can use them for some good damage later on. Giant Slayer is now moving into Sartorial. It caused some issues, but we have our Golden Hounds here to cast right on top of them, which should actually do quite a bit of damage. So nice. Axemen still doing well. And our Hounds are tearing up those Giant Slayers. Now, there are still a million Iron Breakers here that we have to deal with. And I'm not sure what the best way of combating them is. We have our Exalted Hero, who's been moving up. And he can probably do okay. But preferably we'd be able to break apart one of these flanks. Ooh, nice. We can actually get these guys to throw their shots, though. Which means that they will have less ammunition for my infantry, which is very important. So I guess that's what we're going to be trying to do. Just getting them to use up their ammo. and then moving in with our infantry afterwards. Using our heroes for this appears to be the optimal choice. And let's see if we can get these guys to use all of their blasting charges. If we can do that, then it's just a simple effort of collapsing the flank. Nice. Blasting charges getting used up here too. And Sartorial's unbreakable, so we're not too worried about him taking a lot of damage. Nice. Some Iron Breakers pulling apart there. And with these guys at such few blasting charges, I think it's time we collapse in on top of them. We'll be saving up for another final transmutation, and our double manticores can move in on top of the Lord as the Slayers move away. This manticore can shut down the Quarrelers, and we're just saving up for another final transmutation for this blob of units over here. Quarrelers are going down. Sartorial can disengage safely. We're charging these Iron Breakers in the back, which will give us charge bonus. Things are going well. We still have to be careful though. This defensive position is still very strong. And it looks like these Iron Breakers are about to get a nice volley off. But we're 3 Winds of Magic away from a final transmutation, which should be good for us. Manticore does get Rampage though, another one routed. I'd expect that one to be off the field in just a second. But there's not much left, and now the Coroner actually proving to be an enemy of this poor guy, as his troops are routing off immediately with no chance of coming back. Pulling back his Slayers now to catch Sartorial, so we'll simply charge upwards into these Iron Breakers. Dwarves aren't really fast enough to catch them. And with another final transmutation on the way, it's just a matter of time before we can get a victory. Slayers still live. Let's just charge them to confirm kills over there. And there we go, another final transmutation. In fact, we probably should have cast it on the Slayers just to end the game faster. But it looks like we'll be at least catching 1 unit of them. So GG there to our opponent. I'd say well played, but I'm not a fan of his playstyle, I gotta say. But there we go, we get a solid win. All you gotta do is know your opponent, and not too bad. So, I guess we'll do a quick look at some numbers here. Final transmutation, amazing ability. As for everything else, they just did okay. It was mostly Sartorial. Routing off the cannons, though, was huge, and these 2 horsemen sacrificed their lives, got a lot more damage value than it says. By killing the cannons, it also means that we could take our time there with that engage. And yeah, from there it's just easy peasy. But okay, let's get our game in against our Dark Elf player here. See what he's decided to bring. It's an army of about the same size, but consisting mostly of infantry. Dark Elves don't have too many stealth units outside of the Shades. So I have reason to believe this is his whole army, but an easy way to check is just count the groups of units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Witch Elves spread amongst the rest of them adds up to about that army size, which means that there aren't too many stealth units, and really it's just these Witch Elves that we're worried about. There's no Vanguard behind us. Sorry for the whiplash. So I guess we just bring our Peasant Archers in to form a concave there. Deny flank on the left side. And then begin raining our arrows down. Oh, it looks like there was some stealth unit there. I didn't catch them though. And yeah, we'll just be shooting up these Witch Elves. Ah, there we go. There are Shades. We'll use our Paladins to shut them down. And use our Knights to cycle charge. We'll send one of them into these Dread Spears. In fact, we'll send them into these Sisters of Slaughter. They aren't Witch Elves. They won't rampage my Knights. And it looks like that charge might have been able to get them to rout. Okay, Enchantress can now shut down the... what's it? Can shut down the dread spears, no problem, but we've left our knights in a little bit too long. Or maybe not, it depends if they get rampaged, so let's pull them back to safety and continue trying to manage our knights. We've been doing a little bit bad on the left flank, I'd say, at making sure that they've been getting their damage in. But I think we still have an advantage here. Especially with our remaining peasant mobs, it buys us a lot of time to cycle charge our Heart's Content. And now that the peasants have actually started breaking over here, I think we can use the peasants to delay for our archers. Trebuchets fire at the witch elves. And yeah, while this line holds, we'll be using our knights to shut down this group over here. But a Soul Stealer does get in quite a bit of damage. We are losing some knights to Malice, actually. The double paladins can come in and give him a pretty hard time. Looks like we've also, our knights have done pretty well here at breaking all this infantry, except for the, except for these shades, which we'll need to stick around a little bit longer to take care of. And let's see if they break. Looks like it might take a while, but we have time. So our knights are going to be regrouping in the back here. We'll be using our trebuchets to shield for our archers, since our trebuchets don't really do much here. Outside of they have very low DPS, so we're happy sacrificing them here. Now paladins, let's see, they're actually doing pretty bad against Malice, so we're going to disengage with them and see if we can find better targets. Meanwhile, our knights have broken on this left flank here, which is a little bit worrying, but at least they're not rampaging to the deaths. Our infantry now, or our cavalry that have fallen back, can regroup actually, and I think we can get a pretty nice heal there while this main Dark Elf force is distracted. After the heal, we can also move over here, charge into the backs of those guys, bring our knights to deal with the dread spears. And then we're pretty nice, except for the fact that it looks like we're on the verge of losing a paladin. Let's see if we can send in another one to support. And hopefully that goes okay. Our archers are still operational though, which helps us out a lot. But we're gonna have to continue kiting, I feel. It's yeah. You know what, let's go for a full retreat again. See if we can group up into a better position. Or at least find a place where our archers can shoot. Meanwhile, our paladin, looks like his mission to save the other guy has worked out pretty well, thankfully. Let's see, and these guys should drop artillery at this point. So, yeah, at this point, it's just a lot of Dark Elf infantry. And if we split up our archers, we should be able to divide and conquer here. Our paladins will be coming back soon. The Enchantress. We'll have to be a little bit wary of Malice, but he's not especially threatening as long as we don't stay in the fight for too long. Let's see. Nice, our paladin is back, and the Enchantress can begin disengaging while she throws down a heal. As long as Malice decides to keep chasing her, means that our cavalry will be able to get a solid charge in. And they do without really having to worry about Malice. So, I'd say that was a very good trade, with the Enchantress escaping also. Our bowmen can deal with these spear units. And with the Dark Elf forces sort of all spread out here, I think our cavalry can probably carry out the rest of the day. See, even without these paladins to support. Geez, this map is huge. Anyways, so yeah, let's just bring these paladins back. This sorceress will be coming back, but she's so far away that I don't think it'll make a huge impact. Famous last words though, as chasing casters can be very important. But it might not matter in this situation with our current lead. Right now, the Dark Elf forces are all split up. Our archers can fire away without having to worry about being chased. The Enchantress is safe, same with our paladins. So there's not much to worry about, and it's just time to close out the game. Worst thing that could happen is probably a big rampage from the Witch Elves. So we'll just pull away from them and let our archers do the work here. And we can see the big problem about splitting up your forces here as the Dark Elves is that they're going to be getting shot, they're going to be getting cycle charged, generally having a bad time. We do lose some knights to rampage though, and I don't really feel like moving in to save them, since our troops would be taking a lot of damage in the process. Instead, we'll just be taking this time to group up and to heal our remaining knights. Nice, Witch Elves are getting shut down. And throw down a heal. And I think we can probably catch out these shades. We'll likely get rampage though. But it doesn't matter. Can we just charge in and end the game? Better safe than sorry. Ooh, actually, Malice looks like he's pulling back to defend that sorcerer. Means that his troops are surprisingly very unprotected. But, oh yeah, that's a soul stealer. Let's split up our knights. And I'm sort of regretting not chasing that sorcerer off the map. But with all the infantry on the verge of routing, Malice too far away to support them, should be good, as long as they actually run off the field, which it looks like they will. So no huge worry there. The Soul Stealer has been used, so we don't have to worry about another one, except actually we do, because Malice, when he transforms, does have his own Soul Stealer type effect. And when he uses that, he can definitely do a lot of damage. So, have to be careful there. But he is slowly disintegrating. And if we wanted to, we could probably just kite him to death and let him slowly degrade over time. Oh, he's actually killing the Fey Enchantress. But I think it's better and save some time too if we can just cycle charge him to death with the Paladins. Do we have enough infantry to do that though? Probably with these peasant archers. But let's just be real careful to make sure that we don't throw the game. So we'll slow him down with peasants to buy us time to get the setup that we want. Routed off the shades. And yep, it's just time to cycle charge. So cool. Hopefully we can get another regrowth though before we dive into that. And with 14 power reserve, we should be getting it in just a second. There we go. And okay. So, dealing with single entities at the end of the game, what you want to do is you get them stuck in infantry, and then you cycle charge them with your own single entities. You want to be doing this as quickly as possible to make sure that that you don't run out of infantry while doing this. And you also don't want to be losing your lord. So pulling them away as quickly as possible is very important too. If you want to actually be firing in on them while doing this, you can move your infantry extremely close before you fire to make sure that all your shots land. But in this case, cycle charging prevailed, and we got a nice win out of it. So I think that was a little bit close for comfort. Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about that game. How did our knights do? They did very okay. Even though they lived for a really long time, they actually didn't do very much. So I guess it was my peasant archers that did the work. Yep. Yeah, it was the peasant archers. So, I guess that's a good thing though. As Bretonnia, you can use your knights offensively, but sometimes using them just to defend your back line can be the best strategy. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But cool, another win. So now we're up against the Tomb Kings. They actually outnumber us, but in terms of their actual infantry spendings, I think we're a little bit higher. We've gone very heavy on our front line, and the goal is to clear out our opponent's front line as quickly as possible, that we can swarm and surround the rest of the troops. So that's cavalry and single entities. If there are skirmishers that come our way, we have marauder horsemen that can run circles and dodge arrows as much as possible. To cycle charge and to actually finish off, things like Cetra, Sphinxes, and so on, we have a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth we'll have to play pretty safe with, and Archaon with a host of different spells and abilities. Burning Head to win the infantry fight as quickly as possible. I've said infantry like more than 10 times now. Sword of Ruin for magic damage. Very good versus Cetra's physical resist. And a bunch of abilities like immune to psychology, stand or die, and damage dealing things, just so that he's a little bit of a better fighter. For our opponent, I'm seeing a Lich Priest of Death and a Hyrule Titan, which means a lot of Spirit Leeches could come down. Against someone like Archaon, it could definitely cause problems. A big artillery shot too comes down onto my horsemen. And right now our skirmishing fight is not going great, gotta be honest. For the infantry, looks like mostly just skeleton spearmen. So I think we just leave the job to those guys, then we're good to go. Another big artillery shot comes in, doesn't do that much damage. And we just want to be marching in as quickly as possible. Archaon will be dodging left and right. Dodge any missile shots that come his way. And hopefully we can just overrun the Tomb King's front line. Forsaken can charge in here. Going to keep dodging with Archaon and Shaggoth. Want to start thinking about taking some fights here. Not immediately though, and definitely not without support. Our horsemen will continue dancing around. I think I actually can't find a unit of them. There they are. And hey, I think we can actually shut down this Hyrule Titan. So right now, should be able to win all the infantry fights, no problem. Archaon's taking a lot of heat though. And the Shaggoth is probably going to get hit for quite a bit of damage, but the support's coming in hot. Archaon can move in, deal with these guys, and we can probably shut down that Casket of Souls in a second. Here, where's Archaon? Looks like he wants to, looks like the Hyrule Titan's moving on to him. And High Queen Khalida too. It's actually pretty scary. And we're gonna have to pull away. We don't have any infantry support too. But with the Burning Head and some repositioning, I think we should be fine. We did have to sacrifice some horsemen here though. To actually win, to get Archaon out of there. Which is sort of a shame. And we're letting him take too much damage. He actually gets routed off the map, which is very bad. Very, very bad. We still have a bunch of our supporting units though. Casket of Souls is finally shut down. And the Shaggoth, as long as we play very safe with it, should still be able to carry out the day. Cycle charging with him, in and out. Bringing in the halberds to support. Then I think we're good. Let's see, Archaon should come back. He's probably going to get Spirit Leech though. Ooh, and there's an Ushopti summon too, to punish my Shaggoth. So let's get him out of there. And then, hopefully he can kill this Lich Priest, which means no more Spirit Leeches on Archaon. But as I say it, it goes down, and Archaon falls. Very rough time for me. But look at this, our strategy is going okay. And with the fall of this Lich Priest, I think we're in a not terrible position. But we'll have to be careful. Khalida is going to be doing quite a bit of damage there. We'll sacrifice more horsemen to make sure that we don't lose the Shaggoth. And you know what? Maybe the game's going to be won off the back of these horsemen. They still have a decent amount of ammunition. And once those Ushopti crumble away, it's just going to be single entities for these guys. You have healthy halberds. In fact, a halberd unit at full models. Which is great. And, yeah, horsemen can just continue to kite. There aren't any nets that could come down. And the strongest anti-infantry here for the Tomb Kings is this guy on the chariot. What's this? A Necrotect. And he's not even that strong anyways. So he's not much of a problem. The Sphinx should be going down. And once we buy space for our Shaggoth, then I think we're in a very good place. So all these guys are melee, and leaving our guys on skirmish mode will just make things a little bit more relaxed for us. It means that there'll be fewer mistakes from us, and they can just get in a ton of damage. Pyro Titan, pretty slow, should be getting surrounded about now. Means that, we can pin him down with the Shaggoth. And with no real support, he can't chase the Shaggoth either. Let's see, let's take off skirmish mode now on all of these guys. And we probably don't want to take a fight against Khalida. So we're going to pull through our infantry to slow her down. It looks like she might get a hit off though on my Shaggoth. But our Forsaken managed to keep him safe. So that's very good. The Sphinx is turned away from the Shaggoth, but he's turning to face him. So we're just going to turn around, and in all that motion, it means that the Sphinx will actually be taking a good amount of damage. Since trying to actually force path through infantry means that they can get easier hits. And our Shaggoth is doing his job just by distracting these guys. So here we go, another charge in. Means that we can probably get some hits on the Pyro Titan, and we do get one hit. But time is of the essence. We need to be taking these guys out as quickly as possible before we start getting mass terror outs. And that could be coming soon. Our two halberd units are still healthy, however, which helps a lot. And with the Sphinx this low and crumbling, probably not too much to worry about. Let's get in the Shaggoth again and pull him out before the Sphinx can attack. Looks like we managed to do that well. And it looks like we're set up for a pretty strong victory. We'll need to bring back these horsemen again though, since they seem to be really enjoying routing off so often. And if they could get off all their ammunition, that would be best. Shaggoth, we actually miss a charge in there. And he takes a huge hit because of it. Ooh man, that was really bad on my part, and I'd say a rather large misplay. And it means that we actually get quite a few of our guys routing. Now, losing the single entities here, very bad. Shaggoth could still come back though, and if he does, we're going to be leaving him idle for most of the time, just so that he can regain some leadership by replenishing his vigor. I think that's probably the best idea here, since if he routes off again, I think that may be it. Khalida, moving into my Forsaken. They don't have a charge defense against large, but I found that if you stop moving with your troops, it can actually stop the attacks from single entities. And it looked like that actually worked against Khalida. And with the Pyro Titan finally down, we're going to move away before he falls on my horsemen. I think managed to pull off a win. So our strategy actually worked out exactly how we planned, except for the fact that we massively misplayed our damage dealers. Shows the importance of them, and we were just lucky that our halberds were extremely healthy there. And man, did they pay for themselves. Jeez, look at that damage. Our horsemen too did very well also, except for these guys, which I think I sacrificed them to save Archaon. And as for the Forsaken, not as much damage value, but they did their jobs cutting through the chaff. So all in all, I think this build is pretty good, but of course there are things you'll have to be careful about. And okay, so we're up against Beastmen now, as Bretonnia once again, as you can see. And we're gonna see if we can cycle charge like a madman. I don't know if this is the best build as Bretonnia against Beastmen. I'd presume maybe not, especially with Vaponts. But it should be good practice. And in fact, really with any build you take as Bretonnia, it should be good practice, since you'll be managing a lot of cavalry. So we'll be using our more expensive Knights of the Realm to charge the infantry, since they'll be doing more damage than these defenders fleur-de-lis, or my knights errant. And then we'll be using these guys just to defend the back line. In fact, maybe not razor gores, I'm not sure. But anyways, we'll leave them to defend the back line. We have one for each unit of archers, which should be enough. And we can use a fun strategy where they just bounce between the front line and the back line, so that they are cycle charging and defending archers at the same time. To do that though, you'll have to make sure your archers are pretty close. And then that's basically it. For our opponent, Contende, I think, he's bought a Cygor. And actually the ROR Cygor, which means that there is going to be some nets coming in. This guy, special thing, that he has the Warp Gaze, means that you can't move for a pretty long amount of time. Throwing boulders over here at my peasants. A good trade for me, actually. We have enough peasants where I don't think this is enough ammunition on this guy to really deal with them. But there's something we do have to worry about, and that's that Spirit Leeches are going to be coming down. Boulder 2 even hits the Green Knight and does quite a bit of damage. This guy does magic. He does magic attacks with his boulders, surprisingly enough. So we'll have to be pretty careful there, continuing to dodge where we can, and we do manage that. Let's see, no hounds in the back. Sorry for the whiplash. And let's see. Our Knights Errant could actually get regrowthed here. All this, that was Fate of Buna, actually. And Fate of Buna doesn't take out many models. So, what's it? Yeah, it doesn't take out many models. So you can actually heal it back up, no problem. And that regrowth is doing okay, but maybe it was a waste. These guys were just Knights Errant. But whatever, I'm sure it'll be fine. So our Knights are going to be pushing in now. Pretty aggressively, because we're pretty confident we can win these fights against Centaurs. Come on, charge in. For our archers, they're just going to be sitting back and firing away. And yeah, especially on this flank with Rapance, I'm pretty sure we should be able to win it. Green Knight will be terror routing these guys, and he does. And with our caster support too, just healing as much as they can, I think we're in a pretty good position. Our archers are now firing away. We'll be using them to, I guess, shoot the Eye of Morsliev. And we'll be using our knights getting ready to cycle charge the harpies when they come in. Ponce is doing very well. But we put our knights in a bit of a bad position now. They're surrounded, they're getting bogged down by some spear infantry. Let's move in our battle pilgrims to support and our peasants to slow them down. And hopefully Rapance and the Green Knight will be able to help win this fight over here. See, they're on the Beast Caster right now. It's a good pick for us. Ooh, but Chaos Spawn are being summoned. Let's see if we can get those knights out of there. These knights are going to have to pull back away from spears. We definitely don't want them there. And it looks like our backline has done a good job of surviving. Let's keep an eye on Rapance and the Green Knight and see if we can micro them effectively here. Rapance is fine taking on lords. He has very nice combat stats. And let's see here. We probably want to chase off those Centaurs. Our archers can move in now. And I guess their job... Oh, whoops. We lost our caster somewhere in there. Jeez, big misplay from me. But aside from that pretty big loss, I think we're doing okay. We have our archers. They'll be firing in on this Cygor. The Green Knight will be moving in to, I guess, take out this Death Caster. Same with Rapance. And our cavalry can chase off the Bray Shaman of Beasts. See, so these guys are still doing good. Chasing off Beastmen. We can intercept those archers, and we should be in a nice place. We'll blind these two heroes here to make sure that they don't get a lot of damage. And at this point, I'd say the main thing to worry about is taking care of these single entities, which I think the Green Knight is extremely well suited to do, except this Cygor does have magic damage. So I'd say it's pretty imperative that we actually chase it off, and we'll be doing that with our cavalry. And after that's done, it's just Rapunzel and the Green Knight beating up Mogre, which should be a pretty clean victory. He has decent combat stats, but not good enough. And let's see, none of these guys have fire damage, but it doesn't matter. They're much better fighters than Mogre, and it's looking like GG. Oh my gosh, well played to our opponent. I think he did okay. But I think the main swinging force that happened there was that his cavalry was not really able to bring their force to bear. The main thing I think they would have to do to beat my knights is to have spear support. As the beastmen, you do have cheap spears, so it is possible. But still, things can be pretty rough. Let's see, the Eye of Morsliab did okay, but not good enough. He needed to be hitting groups of knights too. So something to work on. As for us, of course, we probably could have microed our knights better. Yeah, probably. But the archers did okay. Let's see, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Still feel like I need to work on my Bretonnia. But okay, Chaos versus, I forgot the faction of my opponent. Let's see, what was it? Greenskins. We're lining up because Greenskins don't have any wind spells, so they won't be able to punish us there. Lots of skirmishers to counter Greenskin skirmishers. Whoops, there we go. Lots of skirmishers for that. Kolek, single entities, you know, the works. Of course, black orcs are pretty scary, even if we do have chosen. So to actually tip the favor of that fight towards us, we've taken a unit of Gore Beast chariots. These guys will want to stay alive as long as there is infantry left. Also some special tech to make sure that rock lobbers don't kill our chosen. We have a chaos sorcerer with fireball. So yep, and there we go. There is actually a hammer of Gork. So this is a great time to begin casting fireballs towards it. Azag could very well spirit leech our sorcerer, but as long as we keep him far away from the combat, he should be able to live. See some rocks go down towards my Forsaken. This is a pretty nice start. Spirit leech on my skirmishers. A rock comes in. Ooh, man. Gets a decent hit on my chosen. But we put in a lot of damage onto Azag. So far, trading up, I think. And you know what? With so few archers, we can probably keep pressuring with these horsemen here. We can't really keep pushing to throw javelins at the archers though, since of course there are goblins to move in and support. But we're buying a lot of time for our army to advance. As for micro, I think we're screwing up a tiny bit. Our chosen, not exactly pulling them away fast enough, means that they're getting a lot of hits on them. And yeah, they're actually pretty beat up now, which is not optimal. Spirit leeches too onto my chariots, mean that they won't be able to run down black orcs as effectively. But at the very least, it looks like we have a lineup of some infantry here. Our skirmishers are still doing well also. And we should be able to rout off these goblins at the very least. Black orcs are moving in. And we're going to see if we can pull them forwards. And then, pull them forwards and then just shoot them with our horsemen. As for these goblins, a charge should be able to deal with them. And marauder, just normal marauders, can move in and screen away the skirmishers. Get Kolek out of there. Throw in some spells on top of the black orcs. And get our chosen in on top of the big gun. The Hammer of Gork has actually been holding up very well. I think the Rogue Idol's actually been blocking my fireballs or something. But you know what? Maybe we can just throw fireballs at Azag instead. That would be much better. In fact, now he's at such low HP. I think probably just chase him off with our sorcerer and use Kolek to deal with this rogue idol. Our chariots, a little bit mismicroed for a long time, are going to need to do more work. And a nice pull here towards the skirmishers by my opponent. But Azag actually pulls in a different direction, which means that this fire sorcerer will be able to continue chasing him without much worry from the skirmishers. Chosen have actually managed to stay in the fight at pretty high HP. What's it? Means that they'll be able to get some work in. And if we can just rout off these black orcs, I think we'd be a lot happier. It looks like Azag getting caught again. And now we can even use our horsemen to start shooting at them. Means that these black orcs and savage orcs over here can't really move in to stop these guys, since instead trying to save the rogue idol. But worst of both worlds, it looks like everything is routing now. And you know what? We can probably just shoot a fireball at Azag and take him out. As for our chariots, big misplay on our part, actually letting them get routed there, since they overstayed their welcome in the black orcs a little bit, which was pretty bad. And even worse, it looks like we might lag out, but the internet just barely holds together. And we can continue on. Now, greenskin archers are nothing to scoff at. They're actually pretty terrifying. If you let them shoot for too long, we'll have to make sure we deal with them. And black orcs too are going to be a big problem without the chariots. We do still have our javelins and throwing axes though. And we have a chaos sorcerer that can cycle charge, and Kolek, who can do the same. So I think that may be able to win it for us, but we'll have to see. Azag 2, still very healthy. Maybe we'll be able to chase him off with the fire sorcerer though. And you know what? It actually looks like we hit army losses without me even noticing. So GG. Yeah, a game that almost got dicey there. But I think the fact that our infantry was just able to collapse and our skirmishers winning the rest of the field for us, I think that's really all we needed. These guys were real heroes, I gotta say. Look at that damage value, paying for themselves and more, which is great. Chosen, just acting as a bullet sponge, I guess. The most expensive bullet sponge you could take, but still paying for themselves a bit. And I think the biggest misplay here was really the chariots. Yeah, not enough value there. As for the rogue idol, did more than usual. And I think it blocked fireballs on the rock lobber, which was super annoying. And it led to my chosen dying. So that was some very fancy tech there. Black orcs though, I think we shut down well. And Kolek, okay, cool. Okay. So once again, the rematch versus Legion, our very own viewer in chat. We're getting a rematch to see if he can defeat us. Taken a whole lot of knights, more infantry than usual, and a lot of peasant bowmen. On his side, we have some dire wolves and a contingent of blood knights with crypt horrors. Interesting. Gotrek will very much like to take that fight. And our peasant bowmen very much want to shoot the crypt horrors. We'll have our knights at the ready to cover. Let's see here, to cover against these blood knights. And we'll move the beasts of Bastogne over there to deal with these large units, and reposition our battle pilgrims on the right side to deal with looks like just zombies. In fact, there's so few zombies there that I think we'll bring our peasants over to screen along this flank. And I think we've already set up to be in a decent position. Just setting up some very nice matchups for ourselves should be good. But one downside of doing this is that we aren't able to advance, which means that the edge of the map is a little bit closer. And we'll have to be careful not to get our guys routed off the map. Our cavalry has been standing mostly idle, and that's just because we don't want the we don't want, oh man, big charge coming in, but go check shakes him off. So we don't want something to happen. I forgot, so we're just gonna have to play the game. Battle begins with some cycle charging into the peasants, but we have a second line of halberds there to defend. Our archers have positioned. They'll want to shoot at the mortis engine, and dogs will be kept away by some peasants and some knights. Our elite cavalry here is doing okay, but we don't want them to get charged, and we very much don't want them to get mortis engined. Some zombies are moving in too, but our archers and no, our peasants can hold them off. But these hounds are getting a little bit close, and it's a little bit scary, but we're still good. Archers have successfully pushed that mortis engine back, but a big whatever that spell is called comes down, kills a bunch of my cavalry, and geez, that's a big collapse along this flank. Looks like we're going to have a big fight on our hands with some dogs pressuring our archers, and we can only hope that these beast slayers of Bastogne can save us. The only thing to stop the dogs too are these peasants, but thankfully the peasants actually do manage to do pretty good here. Yeah, to stop the dogs. Go check. It's getting bogged down very hard though, and it looks like our archers are about to get shut down, which is pretty bad, but not without putting in a lot of damage onto this corpse cart. So with a little bit more pressure, that should be able to go down. Enchantress getting surrounded though. We'll have to get away with her, and I think we should probably pull some knights back so that we can loop around and save her. Our bowmen are going to be pulling through the peasants here to hopefully safety, and we'll see how that goes. Meanwhile, Enchantress, her saving grace has come in to support, and I think that means that she should be free now. So a nice maneuver there saves us a lot of problems. Meanwhile, the flanks have secured, and with these beast slayers, we should actually have enough space to cycle charge with our knights. No problem. Usually if you disengage from blood knights, your cavalry will get caught up and you'll lose quite a few models. But by having just a little bit of infantry support, you can actually swing things very well into our favor. Oh man, that one blood knight just stopped the Fey Enchantress from getting a heal on herself. A little bit unfortunate there. But we've gone a full surround on the blood knights now. And they're taking a lot of damage from these Grail Knights. Cycle charging 2 means that they can apply their massive charge bonus. And with these blood knights actually on the right side, engaging my archers, we can just bounce between the two forces to get many charges. And there we go. A big charge comes in on the blood knights as predicted. Fey Enchantress managed to stay safe. Go Trek is healthy too. And it looks like we're set up for a solid win. So GG, well played to Legion. It did well, but sadly not good enough. I think the big part was probably some of the cavalry engagements. I felt like, especially with the Beast Slayers, we did pretty good there. And if we just look at the damage values, you can see the Blood Knights did quite a bit less than our Grail Knights. Gotrek didn't do much. He did a good job staying away from him. But our archers staying alive for even a few seconds managed to pay off for themselves, shooting down the Mortis engine and Crypt Horrors. So GG, and well played. So, we're up against Lizardmen. We're playing as Chaos with a surprise Sigvald pick with all of his everything. He has regeneration somewhere in here with his armor and a bunch of melee buffs. We're going to see if he can take out a monster. Deal with infantry and skinks, specifically skirmishers, chariots. Chaos trolls for a little bit of mass because we have we have no monsters here. And a lot of cavalry to deal with stuff like this thunderous one. Let's see, salamander hunting packs, which I accounted for not at all. But skirmishers will still at least bother them. Looks like they're actually pushing forwards. So to make sure that they don't hit my infantry, we're going to keep some skirmishers in the middle. Looks like some space has opened up to attack the Saurus warriors too. So we'll do that and hopefully pull away before these guys die. But a little bit slow on the draw means that we take some damage there. Not before hurting the Saurus and not before losing some horsemen once again. So skirmish phase so far going badly for us. Now terribly. Not that terrible, but not the best either. We still have our chariots though, and they'll be moving in to deal with these skinks. Salamanders aren't especially threatening versus them, and Sigvald's coming. Let's see if he can... Oh, geez, phrasing. Sigvald's on his way, and he's going to try and hopefully shut down these monsters that are pushing away my chariots. Meanwhile, horsemen are in position. They're circling behind to deal with... to get these salamanders out of the way. And nice, we have chariots in the skinks now. We're going to be pulling them through into the Saurus. Let's see here. Some cavalry's coming towards me. And Sigvald's in the thick of it. Let's throw down the buffs and let's see what he can do. He's up against a Kroxigor Ancient. But Sigvald with all his buffs can be quite scary. But salamanders are getting in a lot of shots. And this is how the lizardmen are going to win it. The salamanders managed to get enough damage. We won't have much left in general. But our horsemen are able to collapse in on them, not before taking a lot of damage. And our chariots are dealing with the Saurus. But Sigvald, in a very loud scream, gets routed off the battlefield due to all the monsters. Now, the question is he going to shatter off the map? That has yet to be seen. But if he manages to come back, we may still be in a pretty good position. Salamanders are off the map now. Cavalry running over my infantry. And Sigvald getting pounded down by this Kroxigor Ancient. Let's see if we can save him with our horsemen. And we'll also want to bring in our infantry to support. Let's see this cavalry charging into my horsemen. I'll have to disengage there. And at least we still have our caster. Some of these big dinos are getting chased off too. And the stone troll is holding up surprisingly well. But now my caster, he was in danger, now he's safe. Thank you very much, Thunderous One. But looks like he has his eyes set on Sigvald. So a little bit unfortunate here. Sigvald, you're gonna have to stand your ground. Put on your buffs, and he takes the charge. What a mad lad. Good on him. Let's see, halberds are functioning too. Now my sorcerer is taking a lot of heat. Let's see here, these Marauder horsemen are getting a bit too hard to micro too. We're going to pull them away to and just put skirmish mode on them since there's not a lot of range units. Sigvald doing some damage to the Thunderous One. Putting up a decent fight, and if these stone trolls don't get terrified too, they might actually be able to get a lot of damage in. So things are going okay. See, our chariots are healthy too, but now we need them back here to help in this fight. I'm surprised with Sigvald's ability to stay alive though. But the balance of power is not liking me very much. We'll take off skirmish mode so we can get those guys in as quickly as possible. And man, that was a big hit on my trolls. These Coldwind Spear Riders too are giving some trouble. They're chasing down my sorcerer, but maybe we can save them with our skirmishers. And maybe Sigvald can pull a miracle for me here. Gonna stand up against the Thunderous One, get knocked about a mile away. And you know what? Even though we do have the chariots, I don't think chariots are what we need exactly here. But we'll see. Sigvald can still pull off a miracle. We'll throw down a melee defense buff on him. And hopefully he can take out the thunderous one. We have our skirmishers holding up the lizardmen front so that Sigvald can have his glorious one-on-one. And he takes a big hit, but he's still standing. And if he can just not die, then we're good. A big pendulum opportunity here too on top of my chariots will help. Trolls on the Kroxigor Ancient. And another big hit on Sigvald. His leadership gets down to almost nothing, less than nothing, negative 21. Means that he's on the run again. Oh, Sigvald, why? How you have disappointed. But he's bought some time for our troops to come back. He still has some time to regenerate too, and we have Marauder Horsemen. This game isn't over yet. And maybe if we can just catch out the Thunderous one, we can pull out a miracle. We have some aspiring champions too. Keeping the leadership high, slowing down the Thunderous one. And will it catch Sigvald? Man, it does. Which means that he's now down. And leadership is suddenly down in the dumps. Our troops are routing. And our horsemen are getting off the field. Looks like poor Sigvald sadly was not able to carry out the win today. So GG, well played to our opponent. A nice lizardman build with some very strong monsters. Taking out that leadership. Oh man, poor Sigvald. I really thought he was gonna win it there. I thought the new single entity changes would help him out, but not getting knocked over also means that you'll be taking a lot of hits. He did hold out a surprisingly long amount of time though, and let's look at that value. Didn't pay for himself, sadly. He probably wanted more halberd support. And yeah, my build was really, more ready for infantry forces. We also could have supported with these Marauder Horsemen better. But the Salamanders were a bit of a problem too. You know what, maybe I could have just ignored the Salamanders. We did sacrifice our horsemen to shut them down. And I think if they were just throwing the javelins at these two guys, we might have been able to do better. Probably. Chariots would have gone shut down though, but there wasn't that much infantry anyways. So something to think about. And a pretty fun game nonetheless. Oh, Plague of Rust. That would have probably been good. But sick. Yeah, so that's the last game of today. So thank you very much, guys, for watching.